Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for techies and non-techies who work in the techie world whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We're here to provide solutions that will help both the techie and non-techie live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria, and I'm the host of the Sanity Project podcast. The Sanity Project podcast is a platform for experts in the personal development and techie communities to share their wisdom, expertise, and solutions that will help the techie pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Our guest today is going to help the married to busy people, the very, very busy high-end people, live their own personal, sane, and prosperous life. Guy Golan, PhD, is a life coach who specializes in empowering his super busy clients from such highly demanding fields as medicine, tech, finance, and law. He also specializes in coaching the spouses of such professionals who are often the unsung heroes of their spouses' highly demanding careers. He's also the author of Married to Busy, his newest book coming out soon, and his website address, which we will repeat, is marriedtobusy.com. What Guy Golan will be helping us with today is two things: how to balance between a super demanding job and a marriage, and how to manage a married to a super busy professional. So you'll get that distinction very clearly from Dr. Guy J. Golan. Welcome to the show, Guy.
Hi, Joanne. How are you?
I'm great. And you are? How are you today?
I'm excellent. Excited to be here.
Good. So talk to me about balancing the super demanding job and a marriage. I mean, I'm sure, some of your clients started out that way, and some of your clients achieved the super demanding job along their path.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Some of my clients and some of your clients, right?
Yes.
People in high tech are busy people.
Very, very
right?
busy.
So a lot of people think they're just playing ping pong at Google, but they're actually working their butts off, right? They're on airplanes, they're flying, they're giving presentations, they are in front of the computer day and night. And in other words, they are married to their jobs, married to their careers. The real challenge comes when that person who's married to their career is also married to a real person. And that's where you have this corporate polygamy, right? Where a person is torn between those two worlds. How do you balance between a super busy job and life, which is also very demanding?
Extremely. Yeah, I know of one I spoke to recently, not a client because she's happy and she found her own career, but her husband is gone months at a time, which is very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So I'm living here in around North Dallas, where a lot of international and domestic startups and high-tech companies are. And a lot of my friends work in that field. And again, many of them are out of home for about 10 days a month. So let's talk about the kind of challenges that places on both the, let's call it the techie, for, it could be the doctor, the techie, the lawyer, the investment banker, the executive, and their families, right? So
got it.
On the one hand, the person who became this high achiever, the successful person, typically got there because they were willing to put in the hard work where others did not. So take, for example, medical doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
People assume that medical doctors just become doctors, right, after college, but it doesn't work that way. Most people who go into the medicine space started around the age of 15 when all of their friends were partying in high school. They were taking AP chemistry. When their friends were partying in college, right, they were taking organic chemistry. When all of their friends were going and kind of living the Sex in the City kind of lifestyle in New York, they were in med school, and then they were in residency, and then they were in fellowship, right? And you can say the same about people in investment banking, right, or tech. They worked harder than most other people around them. Because of this long-term commitment, success and career for many of these folks became the central core of their identity, right? Which makes working hard and sacrificing everything for your job kind of an obvious thing, because that's what people in our space kind of do.
Right.
And that works well. That works fine because everybody else, does this. And it may seem insane to people from the outside, but in your inside world, it's how we do, right? It's how life is.
It's normal. It's normal.
Yeah, exactly. But what happens when one day, by accident, you marry either somebody from your world, so now we have two extremely busy people, or somebody from outside who has a normal lifestyle, more 9 to 5 kind of a lifestyle. Oh my God, the challenges are so bountiful, right? So this is where both the high impact professional and their spouse come into clash. It puts a lot of pressure on the marriage and a lot of pressure on both people, right? So there are consequences for the person who's working, right? Because now they're not able to give it 100% anymore, right? They either feel guilty about leaving their kids behind, their wives behind, their husbands behind, right? They're not as focused, and there's a lot of pressure on them from home. On the other hand, the folks from home, right, are kind of pissed because their spouse is never around, not available, not carrying the load of the family and the everyday life, and not there to have fun with them. And that's what life is all about, right? Enjoying it.
Absolutely.
So what do you do, right? So let's break it down one by one. We have to remember that the two different people in the equation have completely different frustrations, different challenges, and different needs. And oftentimes, it's very difficult for the one person to understand the other person, right? So if you're a super high achiever, you almost assume that everybody else in the world is also super high achiever. But if you're not one of those super high achievers, you do not understand why anybody would live the kind of life the high achievers do. Lots of miscommunication from both directions.
I would imagine, yes.
Okay, so I guess this is where coaches come into play, right? I mean, we serve these folks and we try to help them find balance, set priorities, and live the most meaningful and empowered lives there are, right?
Yeah, I would imagine that would be priorities are probably the most important thing with each of the individuals, and people don't do that even if they're not a high achiever. So this must be a challenge for you, for some of these super high achievers, to get them to set priorities when for them it's just, I'm going to work. So how do you handle that?
Right. I mean, so for a lot of folks out there, the complaint from the spouse seems kind of ungrateful in a way, right? Because they're saying, hey, look at me. I'm out there busting my butt every day. I'm bringing home a big paycheck, right? I'm working so hard so you can have a nice life, so you can have all the opportunities that you want, so their kids can go to the best schools and have the most, the best lives out there, right?
Got it.
There's the famous book, The Language of Love, right? And how different people express love in different ways. So I'm going to go back to the spouse back at home, and they're saying, you know what, dude? Or my wife, I don't want your job. I don't want your money. What I want is you. I miss you. I need you. I love you. I need you to give me attention. I need you to be a part of my life as well, not just work. So there's, again, the clash, the miscommunication is really at the core of some of the problems. Another key part of the problem is the problem of identity. So let's talk about that real quickly. When somebody's married to their job is their identity.
Absolutely.
But many of the fields that we discussed require the spouse to almost give up, sense on their own personal identity, because you cannot, for example, raise two, 3 children and have 2 parents who are working 90 hours a week. Mm-hmm. You could with nannies, but that's, not necessarily a good recipe for a successful life, right? So for the children. So if somebody's core identity is placed at the work, the spouse often has to make major sacrifices to support, And I'm not only speaking about raising children, right? Who is going to buy food for the home? Who is going to take care of the social life? Who's going to take care of every single daily challenge and requirement and task that has to be done outside of the workplace, right? Who's going to uphold the relationships with family and friends? And don't forget one more thing. Oftentimes, this careers require us to move around, right?
Mm-hmm.
One day you're in Seattle, the next day you get a raise, you get a salary promotion and a new title, and you have to move to Silicon Valley or to Singapore, right? Or to Barcelona. What does that mean for the spouse? They have to just uproot, leave all of their friends, all of their family, give up on their careers, give up on, their networks. Well, the answer is yes, absolutely. That happens all the time. In medicine, that happens when people get trained and then get matched and then go out and find jobs.
Yes.
So that happens in the corporate world all the time with people moving around, and globalization is making it even more demanding than ever. And oh my God, this brings us to the ultimate question, and that is, why are there so many super successful people who are depressed? Why are there so many spouses who are living in the most luxurious neighborhoods, driving the fanciest cars, and they're home drinking, taking antidepressants, and feeling like they got the shaft, right?
I know it sounds like a cliche, but a cliche becomes a cliche because of the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And the answer is a lack of balance, right?
Right.
So can you have balance, right? It's funny because yesterday I hosted an orthopedic surgeon on one of my podcasts, right? And she was telling me how during her training she was working more than 90 hours a week. Now, most people complain about working 40 hours a week, but surgeons, they work 90 hours a week during training, and after that they probably work 70 to 80 hours a week, right? So can you really find work-life balance if you're in a highly demanding field? Probably not. Mm-mm. Right? So what I work with clients on is, the last thing I want them to do is quit their jobs. And that's what I tell, the spouse clients is, don't ask your wife, don't ask your husband to give up on their careers. Their careers is very important to them. They devote their entire lives to their success. But rather, you have to build structures around their careers. You have to build flexible timelines around the career. So when you have that little time together, instead of complaining, focus on bringing the family together, right? When there is a short vacation, instead of arguing about, this is not the life I hope for, try to take that time and really help your spouse communicate with you. And don't forget that oftentimes these high achievers, they're really great at what they do. They're really great in the world of banking and tech and finance and law and medicine, mm-hmm. but they're not really good with interpersonal relationships. So help them communicate. Help them by expressing your needs in a positive manner. Instead of complaining, speak about mutual collaboration, about how important the marriage is, how you appreciate what they do, how you are grateful for everything they bring, right? And how you have your own needs. So it's important to communicate them, but in a friendly, in a collaborative, in a constructive manner. So these are the kind of things that I work with my spouse clients and with my high achieving clients.
Well, it sounds as though it could work quite well. You and I discussed at another time about marrying a supposed normal person and then finding out later that they were a high achiever. Have you come across anybody like that in your work?
Yeah, absolutely, right? So a lot of lawyers, somebody meets somebody during law school, and law school is pretty chilled, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it depends on the law school, right?
Sure.
Maybe not Harvard, but it's not as demanding as other fields. Or if you meet somebody during their MBA days, it's not such a demanding world. But when that MBA goes into the world of investment banking, they can disappear on you overnight, right? Anybody in consulting knows this. They spend days and days on airplanes. They're almost never home. And oh my God, they are working their butts off. And when they come home, they're not entirely available to their partners, to their children, to their families, to their loved ones, and this can create a lot of problems.
So they trust the person who's on the road or working the 90 plus hours a week, be it, law, tech, medicine, finance, etc. They have to hopefully trust that the spouse is on their side, number one, that they are working as a team, as best of a team as they can be at this phase of their lives. So that's because what would happen to the high achiever or the super high achiever if they came home and their spouse was no longer there? I mean, what if somebody just packed up and ran?
Well, that happens all the time. That happens So, I mean,
that's why I brought it up.
Divorce is a major problem. And another problem, there are other manifestations of the same thing, and that is, again, drugs and alcohol, cheating, because they're left behind. They need somebody else to fill that void, or a complete breakdown of communication. Right. So these are all very, very common. And the short advice I would give both people on both sides, to the high achiever, I would say, happy wife, happy life, or happy husband, whatever rhymes with that. Right.
Sure.
So, don't assume that just because you're successful at work, your life is going to be good. Pay attention to the family back home. It's more important than your career. Without them, it's not going to work out. Your career needs your family home to be healthy. And to the spouse, I would say, don't ever, ever stand in the way of success. You have to become a true partner. And the way to really, really succeed in a marriage to a high achiever is by empowering your own personal identity.
Right.
And that is exactly what I work on with my clients.
That sounds like a very brave solution on your part as well as the person that you're dealing with, because they need whoever the spouse, I'll just say the stay-at-home spouse, because they probably have, assuming they might have some sort of a job themselves or a career that is a movable feast, so to speak, but they need to be empowered, because otherwise they're just going to wind up complaining all the time, and that's the end of the road, because you can't live like that. Not a healthy life at any rate.
Absolutely.
You just have to have something going on for yourself and hope that would you do it all over again? Would you marry this guy or this gal, and would you do it all over again? Yes, I love them, etc. Then come from a whole place, a full place, a place of fullness and, your own identity.
And look, marriage for anybody is not always easy, right? I mean, people fall in love in their 20s, get married in their 30s, and what was working in the 20s and 30s may not work in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, right? People grow, people develop, sometimes in different directions. So marriage in its own can be challenging, and when you throw on top of that a super demanding career, that makes it a lot more difficult.
Well, I would certainly suggest the people who are listening right now to, if they are stressed out because they are a super high achiever. High achievers, there's lots of those. Super high achievers, there are fewer of those. Although the group is growing as days go by and as corporations have great demands on these people. But if you are one of those super high achievers and are not satisfied with your relationship at home, because you want more, maybe you want more that you had earlier in your life with them, this is what you do. You call, Dr. Guy Golan and go to his website at Married to Busy and or email him at happydaycoach@gmail.com. And how successful have some of these, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but have you found that it's a good path for you to empower these spouses and that they are able to make something of themselves and feel more confident in who they are so that they can go forward and do the work that you just described in being with their super high achiever spouse?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for the shout out and the recommendation. I suggest to anybody who feels like their lives are not going the way they're supposed to hire a coach. Not me necessarily, but any coach. And the benefits of coaching is that it's all about providing clients with practical tools to achieve practical goals, right? So stay away from any coach who promises to transform you overnight, or, go to a seminar and you'll be a new person.
Sure.
Coaching is about hard work. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about being honest about your life and about what you want to achieve in your life, and then providing real strategies, real tools, real tactics that are very powerful and can help you, really change the way you feel and live the life you want to and deserve.
Yeah, I spoke to a pastor recently about something similar to this, and he said, if people want to change their lives, they need a coach. They don't know everything. Most people think that if they heard about something or read about something or spoke about something themselves, that I heard that, I know that. No, you need somebody to guide you, because your life can be difficult, and a coach has the tools. A good coach, such as you, such as myself, have tools that will help these people get through this to a place that they are satisfied, if not joyful.
Absolutely. I hired my first coach in my 40s, and the first thing I felt after a couple of sessions is just like yoga. Oh my God, why didn't I start doing this 20 years ago?
Always. You never, coaching has been around for thousands of years in many manifestations, but people are prideful, and unless they put their pride behind them and then look for some help, they won't get it. And if they wait until they're very desperate, that might be the spot where it happens, but they need help. They need help from people who are able to do it, who are not attached to the lives of the people you're involved with. You're acting in what you do. You're acting as the physician to these people. You're like a doctor. You do what you need to do.
And, one more function we really serve is we are confidant. And that is for a lot of people in the high professional impact world, the CEOs, the executives, they have nobody they can truly speak to openly and full confidence, knowing that it's not going to leak. Because for them, if it leaks, it can really hurt their careers, right?
Absolutely.
So that's one of the other things we really offer clients, confidentiality and the ability to speak to somebody openly. And, Joanne, sometimes just speaking, right, and being able to truly talk to somebody openly without worrying about judgment or about, disinformation getting out, that's worth all the money in the world.
It is. And they need a safe space. And that's what coaches can provide them, a safe space to be who they want to be, if anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Those who are listening, Guy Golan has presented you with lots of choices and options in this podcast. I suggest you re-listen to it. And if this is important to you in your marriage, in your relationship, and especially if you are a super high achiever or super busy professional, listen to it twice. Let your spouse listen to it as well. Come to some sort of a conclusion about calling him up, contacting him at happydaycoach@gmail.com, and look for his book called Married to Busy. And once we have the subtitle in place, we will give you that as well, because I'm sure it is going to be exciting. And you can check Dr. Golan on his Facebook group, Married to Busy. You can do that right now, as soon as you stop listening to your third run of the podcast. And when you go to iTunes, give him a rave review, because this is a topic that is very important to this particular group of people who are usually in hiding. And both the spouse and the super high achiever sometimes are suffering and they need help. And Guy is here to help them. So thank you, Guy, for being here today to put forth your program and your ideas and thoughts on helping these people because they need it, and offering the confidentiality that you provide as well. And I think that's a very high modus operandi for them to contact you.
Joanne, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. I'm great that you were here, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Work-Life Balance. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.